Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're jumping into a really powerful concept that many describe as completely life-changing, the gospel of grace. The teaching behind it says it's nothing short of a revolution in how we approach faith, God, and our own lives. So let's get right into what this is all about.
So everything in this teaching really comes down to this one single moment in history. According to the Gospel of Grace, like the one preached at places such as New Creation Church Cebu, the cross isn't just an important event, it is the dividing line. It's the point where, in their view, the entire contract between God and humanity was torn up and a brand new one was written. So the big question is, what exactly changed?
Well, to really get a handle on grace, we first have to look at this idea of two covenants, basically two different agreements with God. This teaching says that the cross brought one to a close and kicked off a completely new one. And understanding the difference between these two is the key that unlocks everything else.
Okay, check this out. The difference is pretty stark. The Old Covenant, the law, was all about human performance. It was based on your ability to obey, your works. It basically demanded that you be perfect. But the New Covenant of grace, it flips the script entirely. It's based on Jesus' perfect obedience and his finished work. So righteousness isn't something you have to sweat and strive for anymore. It's handed to you as a free gift. It's a total game changer.
So what is grace, really? Within this framework, it's defined as God's completely unearned, undeserved, and unmerited favor. Think about that. You can't earn it, and you don't have to be good enough to deserve it. The whole point is to shift your mindset away from a constant do checklist to a reality of it is done. Your part isn't to perform, it's simply to receive.
So that sounds great in theory, but how does this idea of grace actually show up in our day-to-day lives? Well, the pure gospel of grace teaches that it all begins in your mind. The idea is that what you see on the outside is just a reflection of what you truly believe on the inside.
And here is the core principle that turns a lot of traditional thinking on its head. Instead of trying to live right so you can hopefully feel right with God, this doctrine says it's the other way around. When you first believe that you are right with God because of what Jesus did, then right living just flows. It becomes the natural result. The focus isn't on trying harder, it's on believing better.
This here illustrates what this teaching calls the cycle of wrong believing. It's like a downward spiral. It starts when you see God as this angry cosmic judge, just waiting for you to mess up. That belief naturally leads to a feeling of condemnation, constant guilt and shame. And what comes from that? Fear. A life filled with anxiety and the fear of punishment. Ultimately, that fear keeps you trapped, right back in the very cycle of sin and defeat you're trying to escape. It's a spiritual prison, really, built brick by brick with wrong beliefs.
But here's the key that's said to unlock that prison door. This verse is presented as the absolute truth for the believer. And notice that word, now. Not someday, not if you're good enough, but right now. There's no condemnation. This incredible gift is what breaks the power of that cycle. It's the freedom from condemnation that actually empowers you to live a totally different kind of life.
Now, this idea of freedom gets even bigger. It's not just about your spiritual life. According to teachings from sources that explore this, like the book A More Excellent Way, there's a deep connection between our spiritual state and our physical health. Grace, in this view, becomes the framework for total well-being, spirit, soul, and body.
Take a look at this table. It shows some of the connections that are proposed. The argument is that these negative spiritual roots, things like long-term fear, bitterness, or guilt, can actually manifest as physical problems. The logic behind it is that our spirit, soul, and body are all woven together. So when we're living in negative emotional states, our bodies can release stress hormones like cortisol, which over time can cause real physical damage. Proponents of this view will often point to ancient scriptures like this one from Proverbs to back it up. I mean, it's pretty direct, isn't it? A joyful, merry heart literally acts like a medicine. But a broken spirit, that sense of hopelessness or despair, it dries the bones. And in this teaching, that phrase is often linked to weakening the immune system, since our immune cells originate in our bone marrow. It's a fascinating connection.
Okay, so this leads to a really important question. If healing is a free gift paid for by Jesus, why aren't more people experiencing it? The teaching on grace suggests that while the gift is free and available, certain mindsets can act like spiritual roadblocks, basically preventing us from receiving what's already ours.
Let's look at this list. Unforgiveness, ignorance, fear, not having faith. What do all these things have in common when you think about it? Within this framework, they're all just different flavors of wrong believing, The idea is that each one of these blocks keeps our focus on our problems, on our hurts, or on our own failures, instead of keeping our focus on the finished work of Jesus.
So what do you do about these blocks? Well, this teaching offers a really practical 5-step pathway. It starts with just recognizing the root of the issue. Then you take responsibility for your part in it. Step 3 is to repent, which here means to literally change your mind, to turn away from the wrong belief and turn to God. Next, you renounce it. You basically declare that lie as your enemy. And the final, most important step is simply to receive, to accept God's forgiveness and healing by faith.
And that brings us to one last absolutely crucial question. After all this talk about shifting from law to grace, from our performance to just receiving, if it's not about our works anymore, is there actually anything left for us to do? What's our job in all of this?
And there it is. This is the answer that the gospel of grace provides. The ultimate conclusion of this whole teaching is that our primary work, our main responsibility under this new covenant, is simply to believe, to put our trust completely in the finished work of Jesus. In this worldview, that single act of belief is the key that unlocks a life of freedom, wholeness, and true peace.